What would make a king bow to gods he just defeated? This is Amaziah, a young king who did everything right. He forgave his father's killers. He obeyed a prophet, even when it cost him a fortune. He won a huge battle against Edom. Then pride crept in. He worshipped the very statues that failed to save his enemies. He threatened the prophet who warned him. He challenged a stronger king out of ego and lost everything. His walls broken, his treasures stolen. His own people hunted him down. This story is for those who are going through battles and for those who don't have faith in themselves. Darkness had slowly spread across the kingdom of Judah. Its king was a man named Joash, and by the end of his reign, many people wanted him dead. Joash had once followed God, but he later allowed idol worship to spread through Judah. When a priest named Zechariah warned him to stop, Joash ordered the people to kill the priest with stones. Not long after that, an enemy army attacked Judah, killed many of its leaders, and left Joash badly wounded. His servants carried him into the palace and placed him on a bed, where he could no longer protect himself. Two of those servants were angry because Joash had ordered Zechariah's death, so they entered the room and killed their own king. When Joash died, his 25-year-old son became the new king, and his name was Amaziah. The Bible says he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but not with his whole heart. At first, however, Amaziah appeared to be a careful and obedient king. The crown now belonged to Amaziah, but so did every problem his father had left behind. Judah's army had just been defeated. Many important leaders were dead. The people were divided, and the two men who had killed Joash were still alive. Amaziah could not punish the murderers immediately, because his control over Judah was not yet secure. He waited until the kingdom was firmly under his control, then ordered the two men to be arrested and executed. But he did not touch their children. Kings often killed the children of their enemies to prevent them from taking revenge when they grew older. Amaziah refused to do that, because God's law said children must not die for their parents' crimes. Once the kingdom felt safe, he began looking toward Edom, an enemy nation that had once been under Judah's control, before breaking free during the reign of an earlier king. Judah had never taken that land back, and Amaziah saw a chance to do what the kings before him had failed to do. If he defeated Edom, he would not only make Judah stronger, but he would also prove to every soldier and leader that their new king could win a war. Amaziah called Judah's fighting men together and ordered his officers to count every man who was at least 20 years old and knew how to fight with a spear and shield. The soldiers were counted and organized under commanders of hundreds and thousands. When the counting ended, Amaziah had 300,000 trained soldiers ready to fight, but when he looked at that army, he decided that he still wanted more. The nearby kingdom of Israel had experienced warriors who could be hired for silver. So Amaziah paid 100 talents of silver for 100,000 extra soldiers. The hired soldiers entered Amaziah's camp, ready to fight Edom. Then, before the army could leave, a man of God came to Amaziah with a warning that threatened the king's entire plan. "Do not take the soldiers from Israel with you," the man said, "because the Lord is not with them." Amaziah had already paid them, and sending them home would cost him 1/4 of his army without returning any of his silver. Amaziah asked the question that was already troubling him. "But what about the 100 talents of silver I paid them?" The man of God answered, "The Lord can give you much more than that." Amaziah finally chose to listen, so he ordered the hired soldiers to gather their weapons and return home. The hired soldiers were furious that Amaziah had dismissed them. They returned home, burning with anger, and along the way they attacked towns belonging to Judah, killed 3,000 people and carried away a large amount of property. His choice to dismiss the soldiers had been right, but his earlier choice to hire them had already created a danger that he could no longer control. Amaziah led his 300,000 soldiers into the Valley of Salt, where Judah's army met the forces of Edom. Amaziah gave the order to attack, and Judah defeated Edom in the Valley of Salt, killing 10,000 Edomite soldiers. The battle could have ended there, but Amaziah's soldiers had captured another 10,000 Edomites alive. Amaziah's men took the 10,000 prisoners to the top of a high rock and threw them down, killing every one of them. Edom was defeated, its army was broken, and Amaziah had gained the victory he wanted. He could now return to Judah as the king who had succeeded where others had failed. But the victory placed a new danger inside him. Amaziah had obeyed the man of God before the battle, but after winning, he began to act as if the victory proved that every choice he made would succeed. Amaziah brought Edom's gods back to Judah, bowed before them, and offered sacrifices to them. God then sent a prophet who asked, "Why do you worship gods that could not even save their own people from you?" Instead of admitting that the prophet was right, Amaziah became angry and asked, "Did we make you one of the king's advisors?" Then he gave him a threat, "Stop speaking, or you will be killed." The king, who had once listened to a man of God and sent 100,000 soldiers home, was now threatening to kill another man of God for questioning him. The prophet stopped speaking, but before he left, he gave Amaziah one final warning. "I know that God has decided to destroy you because you have done this and refused to listen." Amaziah refused to change. Proud of his victory over Edom, he sent a challenge to Jehoash, the king of Israel. Some Bible translations also call this king Joash, but he was not Amaziah's murdered father. He was the ruler of Israel. Amaziah's message was short: "Come and meet me face to face." The meaning was clear, because Amaziah was inviting Jehoash to bring his army out and settle the matter through war. Amaziah had won one battle and now wanted another. But the prophet had already told him that God had decided to destroy him. Jehoash did not send soldiers immediately, because he first sent Amaziah a warning in the form of a simple story. He said that a small thorn bush in Lebanon once sent a message to a great cedar tree and asked the cedar to give its daughter to the thorn bush's son in marriage. Before the cedar even needed to answer, a wild animal walked past and crushed the thorn bush under its feet. Amaziah was the thorn bush, and Jehoash was warning that Israel could crush him easily. Jehoash then spoke directly, "You defeated Edom, and now you are proud. Stay home and enjoy your victory. Why ask for trouble and cause both you and Judah to fall?" Amaziah had been given another chance to stop, because no battle had started, no armies had met, and no soldiers had died. He only needed to cancel his challenge and remain in Judah, but his victory over Edom had made him believe that Jehoash was afraid. Amaziah remembered how Edom's army had broken before him, but he ignored the most important difference between that battle and the one he now wanted. He had defeated Edom after listening to God, but he was about to fight Israel. Amaziah refused to listen, and the Bible explains that God allowed him to continue because the king had chosen the gods of Edom and would now be handed over to his enemies. Amaziah ignored the warning and led Judah's army against Israel. This time, however, God had not promised him victory. Jehoash brought Israel's army into Judah, and the two forces met at Beth Shemesh. Amaziah gave the order to move forward, and the battle began. The battle turned against Judah almost immediately. Israel broke through Amaziah's lines, and fear spread through his army. His soldiers fled toward their homes, leaving Amaziah behind to be captured. Jehoash and Amaziah finally met face to face, just as Amaziah had requested, but Amaziah now stood before him as a prisoner. Jehoash could have killed him on the battlefield, but he chose a punishment that would shame Amaziah in front of his entire kingdom. He forced the captured king to march back to Jerusalem while Israel's army surrounded him. The people watching from the city could see Amaziah returning, But Judah's soldiers were not marching beside him. Jehoash brought Amaziah to the city wall and ordered his men to tear down a large part of it. Israel's soldiers broke through 400 cubits of the wall, stretching from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate, while Amaziah watched and could do nothing to stop them. Jerusalem was now left exposed because its king had refused to listen. Jehoash then entered the temple and took the gold, silver, and valuable objects kept there. His soldiers also entered Amaziah's palace and removed the treasure from the royal storehouses. Jehoash also took hostages before returning to Israel, leaving Amaziah in the city he had failed to protect. The king was still alive and still wore the title of king, but everyone could see the result of his pride. The army had run, the wall had fallen, the temple had been robbed, the palace treasure was gone, and people from Jerusalem had been taken away. Amaziah had been warned before any of this happened, but he had refused to listen because he believed one victory meant he could not lose. Amaziah continued living as king, but a plan to kill him began forming inside Judah. The Bible does not give the names of the men who started the plan or explain every reason they had, but it says that the conspiracy began from the time Amaziah turned away from God. Amaziah had once waited for the right time to punish the men who killed his father. Now, other men were waiting for the right time to kill him. When Amaziah learned about the conspiracy, he fled from Jerusalem to Lachish. The conspirators discovered where he had gone and sent men after him. They found Amaziah in Lachish and killed him. Amaziah was then buried beside the kings who had ruled before him.